Kick it off with Chris right now. One sec here, guys. Okay. All right. I'm good. I'm good. All right. Hello. My name is Chris. I'm going to talk with you about food appreciation. Now, the original topic for what I was going to talk to was why apple pie is the perfect food. I'd like all of you to keep that in mind as I go through this. You'll understand at the end. Now, is this the way to eat an apple pie?
No.
No.
That's correct. No, bad. This the way to eat it?
No.
No, bad.
Huh?
This is the way to eat an apple pie. Okay, you see the difference here? Now, this is not an apple pie. This is a kidney mushroom pie that I got in New Zealand. Let me talk about how good this was. You can see from the texture of the outside crust, it was a little flaky, kind of like a croissant, a little bit more dense, a little bit more heavy. And the meat, the savory, like gravy on the inside, it was warm, it was so good. This is a hamburger I got in New Zealand. Now, this is very, very different from the McDonald's experience. The meat here was very loosely ground up. And I know some of you are vegetarians here, but the way they ground up the meat, it was big chunks of the meat. It wasn't all ground up. So when you bite into this, you feel the meat, the gristle, the fat. And you can see that they had the bacon and the lettuce and the bread. Bread is actually a pretty important part of the hamburger. And this was very good. Now, what am I here to talk about? That's a question. Guys.
Food.
Food appreciation, okay? Now, what does that mean? I'm saying food appreciation, what does that mean? That's another question, guys.
You got to appreciate what you're eating.
You know,
How you're
actually,
eating.
this turned out to be a lot more complicated than I originally realized. If you're talking about food, a lot of people, they think about taste. You know, it's the first thing you think about is how does it taste, right? If you're talking about the food experience, it goes beyond that. It goes to the senses. It goes to hearing and sight. And there's many different elements involved. If we're actually talking about context, there's so many different parts of the eating experience, way beyond just the taste. There's the texture. Like a fried egg is a good example. If you get it really nicely fried, you get that crispy brown outer part where the yolk is still liquid. I know there's differences in how you eat. And that's another part to this. There's a whole different level on top of everything. It's a very subjective experience. It depends on the person, what they like and what they appreciate about the food. Some people like very spicy food. I do not like spicy food. But two parts I'm going to talk about, I'm going to focus on is anticipation and contrast. The reason I want to talk about anticipation and contrast is these are not two things people normally think about when they talk about appreciating food. But it actually has a huge impact on the food experience. The clicker. Okay, so eating is a ceremony. I want to stress this. It is not a survival event. Don't treat this as a survival event. It's an experience. Enjoy it. And actually, if you look at marketing, they try to tell you otherwise. There's nutrition drinks. There's nutrition bars. There's all these quick, convenient foods. There's fast food. You could go through McDonald's. You can do everything to take care of the biological need. But food itself is an amazing, complicated experience. You should really enjoy it. Now let's talk about contrast. Now, me and my wife, I can think of no better example of a contrast. When me and my wife met, we argued all the time. And I was left thinking, this is an amazing, very smart, beautiful woman who will not back down. And it's so different from me. She is a cooking genius. I like to eat. I consider myself an eating genius. She's into classical music, Mozart, Bach. She actually understands the different elements of classical music over time. For me, I'm more of a classical rock. I like the Eagles. I like ZZ Top. They're very, very different. She's beautiful. She's amazing. And I consider myself more of a macho kind of guy. Right? And you know, the whole point here is differences are interesting. Differences magnify the experience. Now let's talk about anticipation. When we went to New Zealand, we went on a hike at Roy's Peak. You can't see it, it's right behind there. Now if you Google Roy's Peak, you'll find a lot of descriptions. It's actually a very, very famous hike. A lot of the descriptions, I've taken out the key words. There is a consistent theme with the reviews and the descriptions of the hike. This is not an easy hike. No, me and my wife are not new to hiking. I consider us mid-level. We're actually pretty capable on that. This, you can see here, it's a long and hard way up, recommended to go with a friend, very strenuous, there's no trees. You can see here, you're exposed to the sun. This picture is about halfway up. It's, you know, we're talking about 9 billion miles elevation, all right? That's a long hike. It took us over 7 hours up and down to get through this hike. By the time we got back, it was early evening. We did not have suntan lotion. We did not have a hat. Let's talk about what we did have. We had these thermoses. Now we had 2 of these. This is mine. My wife had another one, same size. These thermoses hold 2 cups of water. This is what we had for the entire hike. 7+ hours. Now I don't know how to answer this. No, we were not new to hiking. I don't know why we went on this hike that we knew beforehand was so incredibly hard. We used this up halfway going up, and it was gone. We had no more water. We weren't going to give up. You know, we're only in New Zealand that week. We're not going to give this up. We kept going. It was so hot. We got so sunburned. We were struggling. We actually made it to the top. We were so exhausted. We're starting to go back down. All the time, you see people with these big jugs of water, and they're drinking with water splashing all over the place. And you can't help but think, oh, this looks so good. The anticipation just builds. You're dying on this hike with all the sun. You're very dry and thirsty. By the time we got down after the hike, we were so crazy thirsty that we immediately went to the nearest grocery store and we bought watermelon lemonade. Now this is not how it looked, this is not what we drank. This is how we remember it. It was so incredible after this hike. I cannot describe to you how good it was. You tasted the watermelon, the sour of the lemonade. It was sweet, it was cold, it was liquid. We were dying after this long, hot, dry hike. Now, the interesting thing is, this is actually key. They came in these plastic jugs. We bought 2 of these plastic jugs. The first one we drank right after the hike, that's what it was like. But you know, we drank the other jug the next day. And we thought, okay, you know, this is great. It's going to taste just like it did yesterday after the hike. But you know what? This is what the reality was. This is not what the lemonade was. It was in a big plastic jug, but it was too sweet. It didn't really taste that good. It was cold, but it was nothing like the experience that had built up from the hike. The anticipation had built up. Anticipation is a magnifier of the food experience. So when you're thinking about dinner, when you're going to go out for dinner that night, if you're going to meet people, if you're going to have go to a ice cream place or dessert, think about it beforehand. Let that anticipation build. Think about, what are you going to get? What are you going to order? Look at the menu. Look at the pictures in the Google reviews. Just let that anticipation build. Let it magnify the experience. Now, I'm going to wrap it up here. Now, remember the title. I told you what the title was, right? Or what the original title was. Now, what was the original title?
And ice cream is the best food.
Why apple pie is the perfect food. Now, apple pie is a great food because it combines so many elements of these different things I was talking about. You have the cold of the ice cream. You have the hot of the pie itself. It should be heated up. That's the best way to have it. You have the melting liquid interface between these. You have the crunchy, bready crust that just, you know, crumbles in your mouth. When you bite into it, you've got the sour, and that's the best thing. You want a slightly sour apple pie. You don't want it super sweet, because it's got a contrast with this ice cream. The creamy, smooth ice cream, the sweet, you know, I'm drooling here. But you know, and when you bite into it, you want to feel those solid apple fruity bits. You know, you want to actually enjoy eating that apple pie. It is an experience. Now, I'm going to leave all you guys with a secret here. This is the takeaway here, okay? This is pretty important. As I said earlier, eating is a ceremony. Don't treat this as a survival event. Ignore the nutrition drinks and all the takeaways, the fast food and all that stuff. It's a ceremony. It's an experience. Enjoy it. But now here's the thing. Replace food with life. With everything I've talked about for the past 15 minutes, you think about life. Life is not a survival event. Life is an experience. It's a ceremony. Enjoy it. And that's it. I did this at the beginning, so all of you can think about this before you actually got it.
That's it for everybody.
Help yourself.
So we have time for questions too.
Oh yeah. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious how you're an eating genius and you still manage to be so slim.
You know what? That's
There's
interesting.
a direct correlation between.
So let me tell you how far I go for that, okay? When I eat like a pig. I don't want to hold back. I don't try to think about calories. So what I've had to start doing is I walk into work, or I've been trying to. So it's 3 miles in, 3 miles back, 6 miles a day, plus about 1 or 2 miles a day just from incidental walking. So it's about 8 miles a day. And my target was 3 days a week. So even doing that, I'm still getting a belly. But like I said, food is an experience. It's a ceremony. I'm not going to think of it as a survival nutrition event. But yeah, that is a constant challenge. Because when I eat, I really enjoy it. And I don't hold back. What's that?
Intermittent fasting.
Oh yeah. And now the other thing I've been trying to do, and this is also, so I highly recommend you guys try this. It's amazing actually. If you Google intermittent fasting, you'll find a whole lot of articles about it. And there's many different types of intermittent fasting. And I've been actually doing this a long time, where you eat 1 meal a day. That's it. So you skip breakfast, you skip lunch, I eat dinner, but there's different ways to do it. Now when you do that, the idea is that you have to eat at least once a day because you don't want your body to go into starvation mode. Now when you do that, however, you can actually eat the full day's calories in that 1 meal setting. You should still eat healthy. Don't go crazy on pizza and cake. You should still eat the normal foods. But you can really, really go to town. You can really, really eat a lot of what you enjoy. And I've been doing that as well. So I've been doing the intermittent daily fasting. I've been hiking at least 6 miles a day, 3 days a week. I'm trying to do what I can to make sure I can eat as much as I want.
So for intermittent fasting, do you prefer to eat first meal and then fast the whole day, or fast?
No. So you want to stay on kind of a regular schedule. I actually skip breakfast. I skip lunch. I eat in the evening. Some people it's easier to do it at lunch. Maybe some people breakfast, I'm not too sure. But it's actually easiest for me to do it in the evening. I find that to be the best. But if you Google it, there's many, many different types of intermittent fasting. There's like a 3-7 day, there's all sorts of different ways to actually do it. This is just a way that I found was convenient, that I could stick to it. And the crazy thing is, it has a huge number of health benefits. I know for me, my cholesterol went down radically. My doctor actually didn't know what I was doing. So. Yeah.
Are you a big fan of Anthony Bourdain?
Of who?
Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, no.
I see a lot of similarities in your speech and Bourdain.
I see. Actually, yeah.
I had a question. How many apple pies do you have
In a week? Not enough. The thing is, apple pie is one of my favorite foods, but the best apple pie you can get anywhere. Anybody know? If you're going to buy it, exactly, Costco. You get the Costco apple pie. It's a deep dish pie. It's got the very thick crust, right? You got to heat that thing up. But it's huge, and it is so good. And the problem is it's massive. I mean, you want to be doing the hiking and the daily fasting if you're going to try it. That is the absolute best pie.
So we have this apple pie ceremony every once in a while. So we bring in like hot apple pie and ice cream and chocolate chips and all this, and so we kind of celebrate.
Yeah, I was trying to teach them the experience of actually eating the proper ways.
You did it, you didn't just teach us, you told us to do it.
I know this guy, I don't want to say jerk, but this guy, if you go upstairs and you see where we sit, on his monitors, he's another foodie. He's also a food genius. But he shows pictures of food on his monitors, right? He knows I'm daily fasting. And on the monitor, you see all these pictures of all these really, really good foods.
I want to make sure you're not cheating.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, let's give another hand to Chris. Thank you.